Hello, everybody, and welcome to Profiling Evil Reacts. I'm Mike King, and I wanted to take a moment and retrace Barry Morphew's journey toward jail for the alleged murder of his wife of 26 years, Suzanne Moorman Morphew. Now, I'm doing this because some of you have asked for a Cliff Notes version of who Barry Morphew is. Now, he's the accused landscaper who sits in a Colorado jail awaiting his upcoming preliminary hearing that's scheduled to begin on August 9th in 2021. The hearing is going to run over 4 days, ending on the 24th. The actual hearing dates are kind of strange, though, so just keep in mind it's August 9th and 10th, 23rd, and 24th. Hey, will you take a moment, hit the like and the subscribe button on your device, ring the bell so that you get timely notifications when we release videos like this one. And thanks so much for supporting our efforts at Profiling Evil. Well, Barry Lee Morphew was born in rural Indiana in 1967. He and his two sisters lived with their mom and their dad along a narrow road bordered by farmland and thick sections of oak and hickory trees. Now, I've heard a lot of noise about whether he was raised in a happy home or a home filled with pressure, maybe child favorites or extreme expectations. You know, I personally have not seen anything that seems remotely reliable. So I'm going to shy away from any speculation in this part. But what does seem evident is that the family had parents who married a year after high school in 1963, and they remained married until his father's death. They believed in the commitment of the for better or worse terminology. They hung together by all accounts. They seemed to be a family of faith, and they worshiped together in their Christian church. Now, one thing that stood out to me is that Barry Morphew became a workaholic. It started when he was young, and it must have been a trait that he learned from his blue-collar parents. I mean, there are stories and entries in the yearbooks of him working chopping wood to get money so he could buy his car. And there's evidence to support that he worked long hours as an adult. But as hard as he worked, he also played and hunted with the same intensity. You know, I've not found anything remarkable about Barry's elementary years, and nothing criminal in his teenage or young adult life either. There was no cruelty to animals, no fire starting, or even bedwetting that I've been able to uncover. Now, I say that with a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek because those are the components of the homicidal triangle, a quick reference guide to certain predators, and often it's quoted quickly off the cuff as people look at killer personality traits. Well, the modest rambler that the family was raised in was surrounded by open countryside, perfect for concealing white-tailed deer and other small game. Nearby ponds and streams had ample fish for angling. Barry would venture into the woods on a regular basis in pursuit of game. He loved hunting and trapping. In fact, it was something that remained with him throughout his life. That's evident by the camouflage clothing that he wore as an adult and the many big game trophies that lined the walls of his home. His photographs that he would share with peers and others would be of hunting and fishing trips from all around the world in some cases. In fact, he would list hunting and trapping on his media sheet when he played professional sports for a short time. You know, I've heard a lot of speculation about Barry being a hunter, and there have been odd comparisons and, in my opinion, inappropriate innuendos that compare it to what could have possibly happened to Suzanne. I don't quite get the connection, and I kind of disagree with the analogies. Maybe it's because I was an avid hunter through most of my life. I mean, I loved getting out in the mountains and hunting for big game. I wasn't alone. The world is filled with people who like to hunt, but it isn't filled with serial killers or killers in general. Hunting No more makes you a killer than people who like camping or you guys who like true crime stories. Maybe we'll talk a little more about this as we progress, but the question becomes, was this predatory in nature if the allegations are true, or did he snap? And for those of you who might be wondering, I haven't hunted game for more than 20 years, and I'm definitely going to avoid judging those who do. But let's get back to Barry. Things started to change for Barry Morphew when he hit his final year at Alexandria Monroe High School. This kid took Spanish, he sang in the choir, and he worked on the yearbook staff. But he was also becoming a standout athlete. The many years of Little League baseball, playing basketball in the driveway, started paying off. Now, perhaps Barry's father sensed that he possessed a real talent for the sport of baseball. Some reports suggest that Barry became hyper-focused on the sport, joining comp teams and spending hours a day practicing. But either way, he was clearly a talented athlete, lettering in both basketball and baseball in high school. He even played football. He stayed involved, probably like all the kids in a small town. Now, I really believe, though, that baseball was his passion. It gave him the positive strokes that he needed. Morphew would later comment that hitting 2 grand slams in a 1985 championship game against Delville High School would be one of the greatest moments of his life. Barry was so good at baseball that he caught the eye of several college recruiting scouts who tried to get him to sign with their school. The right-handed baseman even caught the attention of the Toronto Blue Jays, a professional team. Recruiter Don Welke, who followed Morphew as he played for Noblesville Connie Mack semi-pro team, thought the same thing. In fact, it was there that he was drafted into the 42nd round of the 1986 Major League Baseball amateur draft. It seemed like everything was falling into place, and he accepted the offer and initially bypassed college. Well, the Blue Jays found out that Morphew really wasn't ready for the big leagues, and they moved him to one of their farm teams, something that happens to most. Well, after a year of poor performance, Barry Morphew was released from the team and forced to return home, somewhat defeated. But Barry had learned how to work, and he learned that disappointment is part of sports. He picked himself up, and he later graduated from Purdue University with a Bachelor of Science degree just before marrying Suzanne on August 5th, 1994. She graduated from the same college at the same time. Now, one thing that I found so interesting about Barry Morphew's case is the number of legal documents associated with him that have errors on them. I mean, do you remember the deed for the Puma Path home and all the mistakes on that? There were multiple legal documents had the wrong date, missing dates, missing signatures. Well, lo and behold, as I was looking at Morphew's record of marriage to Suzanne, I saw that there was again a goofy date. I mean, do government officials pay any attention to what they're doing? So check this out. The marriage record clearly shows that they applied for the certificate in 1994. And it clearly states that the marriage took place on August 5th, 1994. But now, let's look at the recording date by Skip Wagmeyer, the clerk of the Madison County Circuit Court. He entered the document, and according to his signature, he entered it on August 10th, 1992. That's 2 years before they were married and before they even applied for marriage. Well, I don't know how important that is, but let's get back to Barry Morphew's journey to jail. Again, after leaving baseball and returning home, he shifted his focus. It was at Purdue University where he and Suzanne solidified their courtship and, again, upon graduation, married. Barry continued his landscaping business, and Suzanne started teaching school. The business grew, and the finances were bolstered by an inheritance that Suzanne received. They were living pretty darn well. Now, there are allegations of bad business practices and frustrated clients in Indiana. But you know what? I've been able to find a lot of stories that also support that Barry ran a pretty good business. So I don't know which is true, perhaps both. But along the way came two daughters. You know, one thing I found interesting is I personally spoke with a young man who dated one of the Morphew daughters, and he described Barry as terribly controlling and intimidating at times. The young man spoke of how warm and loving Suzanne was, often mediating when Barry became over-aggressive. Well, as the teenagers grew closer together, Barry cornered the young man and told him to quit coming around. At Barry's demands, the boy was frightened, and he complied. He said that he witnessed Barry having the same levels of control over Suzanne and the girls, and he wondered if Barry somehow felt that behavior was protective. To the young man, though, it was akin to domestic violence, a real show of power and control. Well, by all reports and against Suzanne's wishes, Barry moved the family to Salida, Colorado. This isolated Suzanne, but must have given Barry more control. There are reports that Suzanne was not happy there, including reports from her sister that she felt unsafe around Barry. In an exclusive interview with Inside Edition, Suzanne's sister Melinda Moorman said, quote, "Barry was very dominant in the relationship, and my sister was very passive, gentle soul. He had a great tendency to overpower and intimidate people to get what he wanted," close quote. Melinda then said that she thinks Barry killed Suzanne. Why don't we watch Melinda's comments on Inside?
Dead, allegedly at the hands of her husband, and now her sister is speaking out. Melinda Moorman says from day one of her sister's disappearance last Mother's Day, she thought her brother-in-law, Barry Morphew, was responsible. When this all went down a year ago, did you think it had something to do with Barry?
Yes.
What made you think that Barry could be the one to blame?
The Friday before Mother's Day. My sister had sent me a text message that morning. It was very lengthy. It was very powerful. It was very revealing. She was ready to share some things that she'd been keeping close to her vest.
Melinda says her sister Suzanne had expressed concern for her own safety in the past. Was your sister scared of Barry?
Yes.
What made her scared of her own husband?
Barry was very dominant in the relationship, and my sister was a very passive, gentle soul. He had a great tendency to overpower and intimidate people to get what he wanted.
Do you think that Barry killed your sister?
Yes, I do.
Morphew has maintained his innocence, claiming he was 150 miles away in Denver and staying at a Holiday Inn Express when his wife disappeared. The Morphews have two daughters, Mallory and Macy, who are standing by their dad. The Morphews' daughters apparently refuse to believe their dad had anything to do with the presumed slaying of their mother. They were inside the courtroom during his hearing, where they made a heart-shaped sign of support with their hands and mouthed the words, "I love you."
Parents have a very powerful influence on their children for good or for evil.
Despite extensive searches, Suzanne's remains have yet to be found. Melinda says for now, she believes only her brother-in-law has the power to give his wife a decent burial.
I want you to tell the truth. Please do the right thing, Barry. Please do the right thing.
Melinda added another interesting comment about finances and stress in the marriage. If you recall, Suzanne's mother's estate left nearly $600,000 to Suzanne. It was reportedly put into the home that they had purchased in Salida. Now, some reports suggest that she agreed to do that rather than allowing Barry to put the money into a business venture like he wanted to. Melinda, in speaking with CBS Denver, said that money worries were straining Suzanne and Barry's 26-year marriage around the time of her disappearance. She said, quote, "I think pressures and stresses in life. I think financial pressure bears in on people heavily. It creates an atmosphere of discontent and strife, and sometimes living beyond your means is a very hard thing to do. I don't think Barry and Suzanne had gotten there yet, and that's what I think kind of happened, and I can't really say any more than that, close quote. Wow, that's pretty powerful stuff right there. Well, we've dissected the timeline on Mother's Day 2020 many times on this channel, so I invite you to go back and go through the playlist and watch some of those. In short, here's what Barry said he was doing. He commented that he left their home at around 5 o'clock in the morning to make an unexpected trip to Denver. Again, it's Mother's Day. He was heading to Denver, some 2 hours to the north. He reportedly told police and others as he left that Suzanne was sleeping. He would check into that Holiday Inn Express in Broomfield, and it was there that there were towels left on the floor, and the room was reeking of a strong smell of ammonia. The hotel was very clear that they don't use ammonia in cleaning. That became a real big question. Just go back and catch my videos on the motel stay. You can also get a 3D map of the area on the Morphew story map at profilingevil.com. If you haven't checked it out, I think it's worth it. Well, Barry said he was forced to leave Broomfield early after receiving calls from his daughters, stating that they were unable to raise their mother on the phone. Now, the girls were returning from a church-sponsored activity and called Suzanne to wish her happy Mother's Day. When they couldn't reach her, they reached out to Dad. Before long, Barry had enlisted the help of his neighbors to check in on Suzanne. When they reported that she wasn't at home, he sent them back again, specifically to look for her bicycle. They called police and instigated the initial welfare check at the residence. Now, upon arrival, police started a search, all happening while Barry drove back from Denver. I mean, how can we not question this decision to go to Denver on Mother's Day? I mean, that in most marriages is a pretty significant day. Was Barry so addicted to work that it would take precedent over celebrating a mother's sacrifice? Maybe so. I've wondered if Barry was responsible for Suzanne's disappearance. Was he so callous that he would set his daughters up to return home and find their mother missing? He could have a stronger alibi if so, but holy cow, what a horrible thing to do to them. Did the neighbor act and call the sheriff without Barry's instruction, or did he ask him to call? If he did ask him to call, why? I mean, wouldn't it make more sense that he would make the call to the sheriff's office rather than having a neighbor call? Well, instead, it appears that he left all of this into the hands of others. And by the time he returned to Salida, sheriff's deputies and neighbors were searching for Suzanne. Barry would ultimately propose a number of possible scenarios explaining her disappearance. Number one, he said, well, she must have had a terrible accident while riding her bicycle and in her injured state stumbled into the Arkansas River, being swept downstream because it was runoff season and must have drowned. Number two, that she was riding on the gravel road near her home and a mountain lion attacked her and drug her off. Number three was that she was riding her bike on the highway and was abducted. And number four, that she just got tired of her life and took off. Well, almost immediately, Suzanne's brother and some of Barry's closest friends and people in the community gathered to conduct a search. Watching Barry's behavior during those initial days caused many of them to wonder, could Barry have killed Suzanne? One friend would even quote in a Daily Mail article that, quote, police would not be able to find his wife's body if he was guilty of murdering her. Barry would know where to hide a body in Colorado, and police would likely never find it, close quote. Well, as suspicions intensified, Barry Morphew made a 25-second video plea that experts and lay people continue to question.
Oh, Suzanne, if anyone is out there, that can hear this, that has you, please, we'll do whatever it takes to bring you back. We love you, we miss you, your girls need you. No questions asked. However much they want, I will do whatever it takes to get you back. Honey, I love you. I want you back so bad.
Well, coupled with this video, Morphew offered a $100,000 reward for Suzanne's safe return. A friend kicked in another $100,000, and many people really questioned the word safe return as odd, especially when other strange behavior started surfacing. Things like Barry rummaging through the garbage at a downtown diner, only to leave a note about his search for a helmet and clothing. Or the discovery of Suzanne's helmet in the area along State Road 50. And what about when he posted the love letters online and gave them to the media in response to Lauren Scharf's released recording of her conversation with Barry? Well, it was shortly after that Profiling Evil featured some biologists from the Mountain Lion Foundation to debunk this claim that a mountain lion would have killed her.
Well, I've got several problems with the theory that a mountain lion was involved with this. And starting with, we're at the head of the Colorado Trail. We're in the afternoon, which is an unlikely time. The bicycle was found at the bottom of a ravine with absolutely no drag marks, no damage to the bicycle, no blood trail, and absolutely no scent. I saw the dogs searching down there. They didn't smell a cat. I know these cats have to smell. Okay, they got to have a certain aroma about them. There was none. You also have the other article that was found. Yeah, it's within the distance of a drag of a cat, but it wasn't hidden. It wasn't undercover. There were no remains found. I'm just not seeing this scenario at all, to be honest with you. I mean, what do you guys think?
We also debunked the accident claim, describing the lack of physical evidence in this catastrophic event. It left the abduction or the runaway claim unanswered behaviorally, but we didn't believe that she would leave everyone that she loved. You know, if smoke signals about their troubled marriage were true, she could have fled to a place of safety, but I believe police and family would have likely known. Make sure you check out those videos. Well, immediately after her disappearance, the Suzanne Morphew Gofundme account was established, hoping to raise $50,000 to aid in the search for Suzanne. When Suzanne's brother Andy tried to access those funds during his search for Suzanne, his request fell on deaf ears. The fund remained open and has exceeded $30,000. Just recently, that GoFundMe has been taken down, and I find myself wondering, what happened to the money? Did it go back to the people who were duped into donating? Because it certainly wasn't used to search for Suzanne. Well, this reminds me, Andy Mormon's search for Suzanne was amazing. Some people have estimated that as many as 700 people came from around the area to help Andy out. Profiling Evil figured prominently into the search, and they tracked the searchers in real time with Esri technology. Barry Morphew never supported the search, nor did he ever show up to even thank those who did. Then the months started to pass, and we moved into 2021. Rumors and even photographs of Barry with other women started surfacing, and then Barry shocked everyone by putting the Morphew home up for sale. To everyone's shock, the court sided with his attempts of getting conservatorship on Suzanne's interests in the home, and the home was sold. Well, he was now free of Suzanne. He was free of their home. And if the rumors are true that he was moving from Salida, he would soon be free of the microscopic eye the community had cast upon him. But he discounted one thing: a gritty yet laser-focused new district attorney named Linda Stanley. Within months, Stanley was tightening the noose. Now, you may remember her appearing on Profiling Evil podcasts and our choir practice. If not, go back and watch that. Well, within days, Barry Morphew was arrested and charged with Suzanne Morphew's murder. And the charges didn't stop there, as more charges, including forgery, a weapons violation, and tampering with evidence were added on. And now, having made his first appearance and securing a crack team of defense attorneys, Barry Morphew awaits his August 2021 preliminary hearing. While he sits in a Salida County jail thinking of hunting and fishing, and probably himself, I wonder if he ever thinks about his missing wife. If the allegations are true, I would think he's thinking about whether he could potentially negotiate a better deal in his case in exchange for telling the sheriff where Suzanne's remains can be found. I mean, wouldn't that be the kindest thing he could do for his daughters and his wife's grieving family? You know, I like this video from the Daily Mail that kind of recaps all of this. Let's watch.
We'll begin with a shocking development in the case of a missing Colorado mom of two. Barry Morphew is now charged with first-degree murder in his wife Suzanne's death. Now, you may recall Suzanne went missing just over a year ago on Mother's Day. Well, today we hear from her grieving sister, who insists that she's praying for Barry, who may spend the rest of his life behind bars.
Justice is beginning for my sister.
Barry Morphew stands accused of murdering his wife, Suzanne, who disappeared on Mother's Day 2020. Suzanne went out for a solo bike ride and never returned. Nearly 1 year later, her body has not been found.
Our belief is Suzanne is not alive at this time.
Suzanne's husband, Barry, has been charged with first-degree murder, tampering with physical evidence, and attempting to influence a public servant. One bystander captured this drive-by video of his Highway 50 arrest. In an audio message to Suzanne's two daughters, her sister Melinda says she is praying for their dad, an alleged killer.
I love your dad. Though he has done a terrible thing, I still love him, girls, and I will pray for him and continue to pray for him, and I will never stop. I am here for you. Whenever you need me, girls, I am here, and I have all the love in the world for you.
1 week after Suzanne's disappearance, Barry released this video begging for her safe return.
Oh, Suzanne, if anyone is out there that can hear this, that has you, please, we'll do whatever it takes to bring you back. I will do whatever it takes to get you back. Honey, I love you. I want you back so bad.
Morphew later proposed his own theory that Suzanne was killed by a mountain lion. In February, Daily Mail TV spotted Morphew leaving dinner with a mystery redhead. Just 1 month later, he sold the Colorado home he shared with Suzanne and their two daughters for $1.6 million.
I want the world to know that my sister was the darling of our family.
The investigation around Suzanne's death is still underway. Without her body, her cause of death remains a mystery.
As far as I'm concerned, today is all about Suzanne, and it's about her family, and it's about all the individuals that knew her and loved her and cared about her.
Barry Morphew remains in custody at Chaffee County Jail. He is being held currently without bond.
Again, that was Daily Mail, and that was a great little news clip there. Well, now there's the upcoming trial, and I think we're all going to be surprised as more information about the Morphew relationship becomes public. Folks, dirty laundry always comes out in these kinds of cases, and I guarantee there are going to be some troubling things that surface. But when it happens, just bear in mind that nothing that might be exposed is an excuse for murdering Suzanne. Nothing. And as I've often said before, even though the state of Colorado may eventually get their pound of flesh, there are no winners in this case. Suzanne is still gone. Barry will likely remain in prison the rest of his life. The daughters have not only lost their mother, but they've lost their father. All of the family members and friends and associates are going to be less trusting, less sure. You know, not even when Suzanne gets ultimate justice will there be any winners. Everybody associated with this case is going to lose. But we got to keep in mind that justice demands the process that we're witnessing, and Suzanne deserves justice. So thanks for listening to Profiling Evil Reacts and this Cliff Notes on Barry Morphew. Here's my question for you. If Barry Morphew did in fact kill his wife, as he's alleged, and that's all it is an allegation, was it premeditated and carefully planned, or was it a heat of passion event? Heat of passion defenses occur when the defendant says that their mental state was provoked by fear, rage, anger, or terror, combined with adequate provocation. I'm really interested in your thoughts on this one, and I'm going to be looking for them down below. So please take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button, and ring the bell so that you get notified on videos like this. And we'll see you soon at the next crime scene.